Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of Time Capsule. Today we're going to be doing 2005. I cannot believe that is 20 years ago. My God, the years go fast. Now, as you know, Time Capsule, I pick a year in 10-year increments. I show you a really good selection of my favorite albums that came out that year, and then I end the video with my top 10 albums of the year. Basically, you're getting my particular history of rock and roll by showing you the albums that I love. There are now 25 videos that you can check out. So far this year, I've done 65, 75, 85, 95. Today, we're going to be doing 2005. There'll be one more video for 2015. 2005 is interesting. I did not expect much. Turns out it's actually a pretty interesting year. You're going to see a big diversity of releases and a lot of good ones. I own 115 albums that came out in 2005. I'm going to show you 54, which includes the top 10 and some box sets as well. Without further ado, let's get right on it. In alphabetical order, these are basically the runner-ups. These are 50, what's about 44 I'm going to show you out of the 115 albums I own that are amongst my favorite, most interesting albums of the year. Alphabetical order. We're going to start with a band called the 88. You may not have heard of them. I actually discovered them. They opened up and wound up being the backing band for Ray Davies. And then I went to see them, and they're really quirky. Or I guess, I don't know if they're still around, but I bought a bunch of their albums. And this was one that came out that year called Over and Over Again, Over and Over. And they were really cool. I met them, spoke to them, talked about Ray Davies and their career, and they autographed the CD. There you go, the 88. Ryan Adams, he released Cold Roses. Man, that guy, I guess he still is. I really don't follow his career anymore. He's just too prolific. But this was a double CD, and, you know, he just is so prolific, especially back then. He's a hard artist to keep up with. But, you know, he's always got such a good quality. This was a gatefold with a booklet in it. It was another fine release from Ryan Adams, Cold Roses. Alrighty, next up, an interesting one. Aerosmith actually released this one called Rockin' the Joint, live at the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas. This was a dual disc. Do you remember dual discs? This was a CD and a DVD. And the cool thing about this was they're playing at a small place, relatively small, and they did a really cool set list there, at least on this album, 12 tracks. And, you know, I like Aerosmith, and that was a good, interesting live record. I appreciated that. Speaking about interesting live records, this was a really interesting one. Let me show you this one. This was Ian Anderson, plays the orchestral Jethro Tull. You know, one of the great things about Ian Anderson, he is not afraid to do a lot of different things. And this was a really cool release. This is a 2 CD version, and right there, really cool set list, and it worked really well. You know, as you would think Jethro Tull would, and it does. Next up, Kate Bush released a double album called Ariel. Interesting release, kind of sprawling. Honestly, this one didn't do that much for me. I liked a lot of it, but not amongst my favorite Kate Bush albums, but clearly, you know, she's an artist with a capital A. This was an interesting live release. Eric Clapton reformed Cream and played the Royal Albert Hall and released this album, actually. And this was Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton reconfigured as Cream again, playing the Royal Albert Hall, and they released this live double CD. It was interesting. Then after that he would reform Blind Faith, although he didn't call it Blind Faith. It was him and Steve Winwood. Ray Davies, before he put out his first solo record, he did this EP called Thanksgiving Day. Was pretty good. Storyteller right there. Then he would go on to do his first solo record. Bob Dylan, in the bootleg series, this was Volume 7, he put out No Direction Home, the soundtrack to the Martin Scorsese film. And, you know, this is, you know, probably the best archive series ever is these bootleg series from Bob Dylan. Amazing. He also released that same year. This was not part of the bootleg series. This was just called Live at the Gaslight in 1962. Interesting release. And there was the track list from that album. So 2 from Bob Dylan right there. Beth Hart, Got Into Her, and this was Live at the Paradiso. And a great cover, right? She's the real deal, and nice to see her career is still going really, really strong. She's good. I like her a lot. And Beth Hart, Live at the Paradiso, came out that year. I'm a fan of Peter Himmelman. Good release, Imperfect World. This is not an album that I would tell you to run to if you don't know who Peter Himmelman is. From Strength to Strength is a much better record. But another fine album from him. Speaking of Ian Anderson, he did an interesting thing. He did Jethro Tull Aqualung Live, a special collector's edition in aid of various charities for the homeless. And he does do that, and I think that's really cool of him. And he played with Jethro Tull. Martin Barr was in the band at that time, as you could see. And they did the whole Aqualung album plus some other doodads on it. And that's something I listened to a lot. This was a cool fan club release that I got later on. Elton John Live Plus. And I found these at a flea market, man. And boy, did I luck out. But these are these fan club live records that are just great. And this was a good one, too. There was the track listing Elton John Live from the EltonJohn.com series. That was a cool one. Good luck finding that. Another interesting release, Mark Knopfler put out one-take radio sessions. And it's exactly what that is, one-take radio sessions. And there was the track listing as well. Another fine release, some great songs there for sure. This is a cool release if you could find it. Amy Mann was a really big fan of. I still am a big fan. This was one called The Forgotten Arm. Great artwork. And that's what it looked like. A full booklet in here with like artwork for each song. She really, she's a quality artist for sure. This album was not a huge hit for me, but I liked it a lot. But, you know, like I said, she's a quality artist. The Forgotten Arm from Amy Mann. Paul McCartney, he released Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. And that's a good cover. This is an album, is a good release. It did not really strike my fancy too much. I liked it, I enjoyed it, but it certainly didn't get a massive amount of play on my stereo from Mr. McCartney. Joni Mitchell, you know, she was always known as the ultimate artist, album artist, and never had the greatest hits or compilations. And she openly used to say she doesn't believe in that. You got to play her albums. Well, that certainly changed. And, you know, now there's umpteen collections, hits albums and things like that. But one of the things she released that year was a thing called Songs of a Prairie Girl. And this is another one. I have all of them. They would release compilation albums that would have themes. And they were really good, you know, like they would go with deep cuts. And so this is Songs of a Prairie Girl. There's the track listing if you want to see it. So they're really interesting listens. And I appreciate the artistry that went into a lot of her compilations. Why am I wearing I'm Not Dead Yet? Well, that was, where is it? Right, Spamalot. And I actually got the soundtrack to Monty Python's Spamalot. I saw that Broadway show, and me and my son saw it, and we loved it. My daughter and my wife didn't see that show with us, and they always regretted it, even though they don't claim to be big Monty Python fans like us. But Spamalot, love Monty Python. Nectar, this was an interesting archive release. This was called Door to the Future, The Light Show Tapes, Volume 1. So Nectar started releasing archive live shows. This was from German tour of 1974. You know, the quality is good, not great. Sounds like a good bootleg, but certainly the songs are really good. And I'm a big fan of Nectar. All right, let's keep going. We are in the heart of letter N. And let's keep going with my girl, Olivia Newton-John. Now, Olivia, of course, is an amazing singer. she was not known as a songwriter, but after she got breast cancer, she started writing songs, especially the album Gaia, which is a good release. But in 2005, she released Stronger Than Before, and look at that beautiful smile. And she didn't write all the songs, but she would write some of the songs. This was actually on Hallmark Records, go figure. But, it's not an essential album in any stretch of the imagination, but I'm a fan and I liked it. Plus, like I said, she was going through a lot. Oasis, they released the album Don't Believe the Truth. This was a dual disc, another one. You'll see a couple of them. That was big in 2005. A new technology, CD and DVD on the same disc. And this was this album, Let There Be Love and Lila, The Importance of Being Idle. Another good Oasis album. Not quite in the top 10 for me, but it was fine. This is a band I really like. For you fans overseas, let me know if you like them. Did you see them? I am a huge fan of this band, Ocean Color Scene. And this album, a deeper album called A Hyperactive Workout for the Flying Squad. Cool artwork. I totally dig this band. And they started out with a huge reputation and really successful with Mosley Shoals, which is an amazing album. But then they kind of got dumped on overseas. In the United States, they've never made it here, which is a shame. But I am a big fan, and I like pretty much all their albums. I totally dig them. And you're going to see a box set later on for them as well that came out. Liz Phair, she released Somebody's Miracle. This is a special 2 CD edition, which comes with a retrospective DVD. I am a fan of Liz. This was more of her commercial phase. It's a good record. I didn't think it was nearly as good as the self-titled album, which I loved, which was also a very commercial album. But it was fine. Somebody's Miracle from Liz Phair. Fish. 10 years after the fact, they released this New Year's Eve 1995 from Live at Madison Square Garden. They got to be up there amongst the all-time records, not at the Billy Joel level, but God, they play the Garden all the time. But this is a cool release if you like Fish. 3-disc set from Live New Year's Eve 1995. Again, we're talking about 2005. This was a really cool live one. This is Porcupine Tree, and this is XVII, I guess this is what this is. I don't know if you could find this out there too often, but this is a really cool live record. Porcupine Tree, I could love them, and then sometimes I just think they're okay. But this is a Porcupine Tree that I really, really like. You're going to see them in the top 10 shortly as well. This is a cool live album. Renaissance, latter edition of Renaissance, in the Land of the Rising Sun, live in Japan in 2001. Again, this is from 2005. And this is Annie doing another configuration at the time of Renaissance, but boy, they sound great. And it's a really good set list, as you can see. Not the original Renaissance. Now, the Rolling Stones, they put out an interesting compilation in 2005, and it was called Rarities. 1971 to 2003, kind of hit the retail and then kind of disappeared. Really, as you can see, kind of low budget, and they frustrate me because it's a good listen. I really enjoyed this album, and I played it a lot. And you got some B-sides right there, and a cool version of Tumbling Dice, and pretty much B-sides, a dance version of, you get If I Was a Dancer, Dance Part 2, which is really cool. It's an interesting through and through live. It's a cool compilation, but typical for the Stones, man. They just dump it out there. It's not a lot of marketing on this one. It's kind of low budget, and it disappeared. Would the Beatles do something at this level? No, they do it big. Stones just kind of throw it out there. It's unfortunate because it's a good compilation, kind of like that Suckin' in the 70s. It's just a weird one, but it's a good listen. Big Runga, I'm a fan of her. She's from New Zealand, and this was one of her albums called Birds, and I'm a fan of hers. It's a good record. Bruce Springsteen, here's another dual disc, and you got, what's the name of this, Devils and Dust. He's so interesting for me. Springsteen, I'm a huge fan. I got everything and tons of bootlegs, But he's just interesting. Some of his stuff just doesn't grab me. And then when it does grab me, it's like, a huge album for me. In fact, besides the Stones, he might have the second most top 3 albums of the year for me, or U2. He's right up there. But this album, what's the name of it? Devils and Dust. I have to look at the name. Did not do much for me. And this was, again, a CD and a DVD side. But it's good for what it is, but did not grab me. This was an interesting compilation. Joe Strummer from his pre-Clash days, the 101ers. And I found this, and it's called Elgin Avenue Breakdown Revisited. And you get those pre-Clash tracks from the 101ers, and they got 20 tracks on there. Some of it's pretty low budget. It's not like the Clash, but it's good. Speaking of interesting, you may never have heard of this band, Tucky Buzzard. Tucky Buzzard had a guy in there named Terry Taylor, who, if you're a big fan of Bill Wyman, you know that name because he's very much like Bill Wyman's right-hand man on guitar, oftentimes. And he was in Tucky Buzzard, and Bill Wyman produced them, or most of their albums. So this is called Time Will Be Your Doctor, Rare Recordings, 1971, 1972, the Bill Wyman Productions. And it's right there on 2 discs. And this is like early 70s rock and roll. Tucky Buzzard, Warm Slash, and Coming On Again. 3 albums on here. I actually have some of their vinyl. So this is what it looks like on vinyl. That's the Tucky Buzzard album right there called Buzzard. And I even have a clipping from Cream magazine right there. Not cool? That was the back. There's Terry Taylor. And Jimmy Henderson was the lead vocalist. And here's another one. You may have seen this in used record stores, All Right on the Night. That was another album. Good band. Are they great? No. Gold Medallions. That's a cool track on here if you want to check them out. I don't think they're like the greatest thing in the world, but they're good. Paul Weller. He released a cool one called As Is Now, and I got this deluxe edition. Comes in a nice booklet style and a nice book and 2 discs, and you get a CD and a DVD with videos and things like that. So As Is Now, another fine record from Paul Weller. Not quite in my top 10 though, and this not in the top 10 either. The White Stripes, they were on a roll, and this was the album Get Behind Me Satan. Another fine release from the White Stripes. I like them. I tend to have to take them in small doses. I can't always listen to them. I was really pumped for this. At that time especially, I was a really big Lucinda Williams fan. She was on a roll. And she released a live album called Live at the Fillmore. And honestly, I just thought it was okay. I'm a huge live album fan, as you know. Double CD, but it just didn't take off for me. But it's a good live record from Lucinda Williams. One more. Before we hit the box sets in the top 10, this is Bill Wyman's Rhythm Kings Live. Speaking of Bill Wyman, there are a slew of live Rhythm Kings albums, but this one's just called Live. And again, not essential stuff, but fun listening in the mood. What else am I missing? Robert Plant. He released an album called Mighty Rearranger. I have it as part of this box set. I used to have all the separate Robert Plant albums. I dumped them after I got this box set because all of these studio records are in here, remastered with bonus tracks, and really did not need those originals anymore. So look at that one over here. Where is it? Right there. That's Mighty Rearranger, and that was the album he released that year. It's actually a good record. Shine It All Around was, lack of a better word, that was like the hit in a sense. It wasn't really a hit. And where is it in here? It's that was what it looked like, if you can see it right there. So Mighty Rearranger from Robert Plant also was an album that came out that year. All right, let's show you some other things that came out. All right. That was also the year you saw a lot of DVDs, CD collections. One of them was Marianne Faithfull live in Hollywood. I don't really consider these CDs, but they are because there's a CD and a DVD. And this was a fine Marianne Faithfull live show. Really good set list. recommended if you like Marianne Faithfull. Now, there was another one that came out that year that was a huge hit for me. Where is it? Dido. Where did you go, Dido? Here it is. Oh, no, we're going to get to her. We'll get to her. Hold that thought. All right, some box sets that are really cool that came out. Yes, The Word is Live. And this was a 3-disc box set of live stuff from Yes. They were releasing that other, I think I have a bunch of Yes box sets. This one, smaller package, and it's good. This was not the greatest live collection. Some of it was kind of like sub-bootleg quality, not great sounding, but a lot of good material on here and interesting. So yes, The Word is Live came out in 2005. Another one, I had mentioned Ocean Color Scene. This is a great box set. It's called Anthology. 2 CDs and 1 DVD. Fantastic. I love this band. Let me know, you viewers from overseas, what do you think of Ocean Color Scene? This one, 2 CDs, and then the DVDs got videos and a live concert. I think they're great. And of course, Steve Craddock and the guys in that band play with Paul Weller. Now, 2 amazing box sets that came out that year. Uriah Heep, Chapter and Verse, the Uriah Heep story. This is amazing. This was the 35th anniversary at that time. And you got a whopping 6 CDs and a huge book that came in here. And I just really started becoming a huge fan of Uriah Heep about 25 years ago, even longer. When I saw them live, and then I just really dove into them big. But this helped. This is a fantastic box set. Really highly recommended. All right, one more we're going to show you. I don't want it to fall. And Garth Hudson, of course, passed away today. Isn't that? He was the last original member of the band, and he passed away, unfortunately. So this actually is a perfect time to mention this amazing box set. And this was called Musical History of the Band. And this was also 5 CDs and a DVD. And as you would expect, from they're such a classy, such an important musical act. This box is just done so well, just gorgeous. And this also goes album to album, and their whole history, and just wonderful. And sad. Hard to believe that no one is left from the band. They're all deceased. But he had a good long life. I think he died natural causes at the age of 87, and at least he lived a more comfortable life than some of the other members of the band who didn't. So Garth Hudson passed away today, and it's a good way to remember him with this 2005 release, the musical history from the band. Came out in 2005. Let's stick that over there, and hopefully that won't fall. And we're going to do one more. We're going to do the top 10. I hope you're still with me, but it's a lot of good material to look at. The top 10 from 2005 for me are as follows. Okay, at number 10, a little bit of a cheat, but it deserves it. I mentioned that CD, DVD, and it was Dido live. I'm a fan of Dido. I never had any idea she was as great as she was live at that time. If you could find this, highly recommended. It's a DVD of the full show and then a CD of a lot of the show. This was my number 10 most played album from 2005. Dido live. Okay, at number 9, Neil Young, Prairie Wind. This is a cool version of it. It's a CD and a DVD, and the DVD's got high quality audio. It's not a Neil Young album. You hear about that often, but it's fine. It's a Another strong Neil Young album. As always, the problem with Neil Young, he just releases so much stuff, I think. But there you go. So he's number 9. At number 8, Shelby Lynne, and an album called Suit Yourself. This is a really fine, mellowish kind of Shelby Lynne album. I am a fan of hers, and she was on a roll at that time. So Suit Yourself at number 8. At number 7, let's keep going. At number 7 is going to be similar in a way. Sheryl Crow and her album Wildflower. Another fine release from Sheryl. Again, I get these deluxe editions that have a CD and a DVD. The DVD's got videos and things like that. This is a fine Sheryl Crow album. Again, more on the mellow side, but it's really good. Wildflower at number 10, 9, 8. Number 7. At number 6, we got Porcupine Tree and the album called Deadwing. And that featured the song Shallow. This is a really strong Porcupine Tree album. This thing rocks. And it's also got melodic stuff. Shallow, Lazarus, Halo. Really liked it. They come in at 10, 9, 8, 7 at number 6. At number 5, Ash and a blitzkrieg of an album. I love this one. This is called Meltdown. This came in a sleeve like that with bonus tracks. I love this. Orpheus and Evil Eye and Clones. Renegade. I think of my son because, man, we just loved this album. This was a killer album. Ash and Meltdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. At number 4. Might surprise a lot of people, but Trey Anastasio from Fish, he released a solo record, Shine, and this was a killer album. I played the hell out of this album. It's catchy. The songs are a bit tight. They don't all go on forever like Fish does. Really good album. If you want to check out Trey Anastasio solo, and you don't want all that extensive jamming that Fish does, that's a good one to do. At number 3, I have talked about this album on my channel. I've talked about this band on my channel. I love this album to death. This was Antigone Rising and the album called From the Ground Up. There's a bunch of different versions of this. I see this album all the time in the dollar bins, and I'm telling everybody, pick it up, man. You will thank me. This album is killer. Bluesy, soulful, rock and roll, all women's band, and they are the real deal. Unfortunately, after this album, this version of the band broke up. And they've carried on in a low-budget way with a different singer and a different sound, and it's still really good. But this album, From the Ground Up, is killer. It's just great. You know, She's Not Innocent, Long Shot, Don't Look Back. Listen to that. You will thank me all over the place. That's how good it is. Antigone Rising at number 3. At number 2, the Rolling Stones, and they released A Bigger Bang, and that was the original release. And then they put out this deluxe edition where they had to sucker you to buy a second version with a DVD that actually had some videos and 2 bonus tracks of songs that weren't that great. So the deal with A Bigger Bang, I always say, I think it's the weakest of the Latter Day albums, starting with Steel Wheels and Voodoo Lounge and Bridges to Babylon and Bigger Bang and then Hackney Diamonds. I think Bigger Bang is the weakest, which is not to say it's not a really good album. It really is, but it's just too damn long. I also think it was lacking a really great single, and even the ballad Streets of Love could have been so much better if the lyrics weren't so horrendous. But it is a fine listen, especially if you go from track 2, which is Let Me Down Slow, and you go from track 2 straight through to, I don't know, maybe 10 or so. It's a killer record. And then after that, it gets a little wonky after that. Laugh I Nearly Died, maybe just song 12. The last couple of songs I'm not that big on. But it's a fine release from the Stones. And that was my number 2 most played album from 2005. So what the hell beats the Stones, you're saying? What's the #1 album of the year for me from 2005 that I played the most? Well, that was Blackfield. And that was, again, speaking of Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson and his relationship on here with Aviv Gevin, an Israeli rock star. And they put out Blackfield, and this album just blew me away. It's progressive, but it's melodic. It's fantastic. It just grabs you in with a warmth, but it rocks. It's amazing. And equally amazing is Blackfield 2. After that, I think they were good, but not quite as good. But this is Blackfield, my #1 album of the year from 2005. Steven Wilson, Aviv Geffen. That's the track listing, and I got bonus tracks on this. If you like progressive with melodic but rock, this is a great, great album, as is Blackfield 2, but that's another year. So there you have it, folks. There are the top 10 from 2005. At #1, Blackfield. #2, The Stones, A Bigger Bang. #3, Antigone Rising, From the Ground Up. #4, Trey Anastasio, Shine. #5, Ash with Meltdown. #6, Porcupine Tree with Deadwing. Steven Wilson in there twice. #7, Sheryl Crow, Wildflowers. #8, Shelby Lynn with Suit Yourself. #9, Neil Young, Prairie Wind. And #10, Dido Live, plus a whole host of other great stuff. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of 2005. Surprisingly, gotta say, this was a much stronger year than I originally anticipated, and hopefully you'll agree. So as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Let me know what you think. I am not dead yet. We're going to do another video, one more video in the time capsule. We'll do 2015. I imagine there's not going to be that much for that. And then we'll continue on with more of the Alan Rosenberg Show. As always, thanks so much. If you're new or you never subscribe, hit subscribe. And again, go to playlist. My favorite my favorite album is Time Capsule. 25 videos there. This will be 26. Thanks again. See you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.